Okay, let's jump right into this explainer. Today, we're exploring the hidden mechanisms that are constantly trapping our modern attention. But, to truly understand that smartphone sitting in your pocket right now, we actually need to rewind about 2,500 years. We're going to dig into this incredible piece of writing that connects the life of Prince Siddhartha, who of course would later become the Buddha, to the very modern algorithms dictating our daily lives. I mean, we always think we live in these completely unprecedented times, right? Like we're stumbling around with Paleolithic emotions while wrestling with godlike technology. And sure, our doom-scrolling tools are shiny and brand new, but the psychological traps they're setting for us, those are absolutely not new. So let's unpack how the walled gardens of the ancient world perfectly mirror the digital feeds we're all stuck in today.
Consider the environment Prince Siddhartha actually grew up in. His father, King Suddhodana, had heard this prophecy that his son would either become a world-ruling king or a wandering teacher. Naturally, to keep him on the throne, the king engineered an environment specifically designed to prevent his son from ever wanting to leave. Siddhartha himself later described it as living in utmost refinement. But here's the thing, this wasn't just luxury for the sake of luxury. It was aggressive curation. His father built a world literally without any gaps, without a single moment of boredom, and completely devoid of discomfort. He deliberately filtered out any sight of old age, sickness, and death. It was just this continuous rotating supply of engineered pleasure explicitly designed to suppress the exact triggers that might cause Siddhartha to question his reality.
And this brings us to the first major breakthrough in our explainer. Siddhartha's curated frictionless palace? It was actually the world's first algorithmic feed. The ancient palace walls in your modern smartphone screen serve the exact same function. They are both designed to substitute a continuous supply of curated satisfaction for actual reality.
Think about it.
The palace didn't just give Siddhartha pleasure, it stood in for the real world, so effectively that when he finally stepped outside the gates and saw reality, it sent him into a total existential crisis. And today, the modern feed does the exact same thing. It curates, it filters, and it feeds us a continuous stream of engagement to keep us comfortably inside the walls. Only now, the objective isn't keeping a prince on a throne, it's keeping your eyes glued to the screen to maximize shareholder value.
To really grasp how this works, we need to understand a Buddhist concept called cetana. Basically, it means intention, or the will behind an action. In Buddhist thought, karmic weight runs entirely through cetana. Think of it like a knife, right? A knife being used to chop vegetables and a knife being used to hurt someone are the exact same physical object. The difference, the entire moral difference, lies completely in the intention of the hand holding it. Now, here's why this matters so much for us. Systems like Suddhodana's palace or our modern social media feeds do not wait for your intention to form neutrally. They simply don't respect your cetana. They place a massive thumb on the scale. The palace made sure Siddhartha never even had the chance to form an intention about whether he wanted to know about old age or sickness. It decided for him. And our modern algorithms are engineered precisely to capture and effectively hijack what we intend to pay attention to.
Which brings us to the absolute most important question we can ask about every single platform we use. When you open an app, your initial intention is usually genuine. You want to connect with a friend, you want to catch up on some news, or honestly, you just want a quick 2-minute break from being bored. That wanting is legitimately yours. But what the system does is refuse to ever let that desire actually land and resolve. From the platform's perspective, a person who finds exactly what they came for, feels totally satisfied, and promptly closes the app is considered a complete failure of the system's design. The algorithm's entire purpose is to keep your wanting circling. It wants to keep you perpetually hungry, just so you keep scrolling.
To put this in perspective, think about how human extraction has evolved over time. Back in the agrarian era, it was physical labor being extracted, and that was enforced by the very real threat of starvation. But it had a natural, unavoidable boundary, the sunset. You literally couldn't work the fields in the dark. Then, in the industrial era, wage output was extracted, enforced by the clock, and eventually bounded by the factory whistle and labor laws. Now, in both of those eras, the coercion was pretty brutal, but it left your internal intention alone. You still mentally chose to work to survive. But then, we hit the information age. It extracts your attention directly. It enforces it through variable rewards, and crucially, there are zero natural stopping points. No sunset, no whistle. It is literally the first regime in human history built to capture your volition directly, without any edges whatsoever.
So how exactly does it capture your volition with no stopping point? It all comes down to a 3-step compulsion loop. It starts simply enough with step 1, your intention or your boredom. Then you hit step 2, the engineered variable reward. The source author points out something fascinating here. This is exactly how search and rescue dogs are trained. If you reward a dog every single time it finds a scent, it will actually get bored and quit the moment a reward doesn't come. But if you reward it unpredictably on a variable schedule, where some searches pay off but most don't, that dog becomes incredibly resistant to giving up. It will work for hours without a payoff. This variable ratio schedule is exactly how a slot machine works, and it is exactly how your social media feed is engineered. Which inevitably leads to step 3, unresolved craving. And that craving is what keeps the loop spinning indefinitely.
But here's what makes the feed way more dangerous than a slot machine. It's the payload. A slot machine pays out in abstractions, right? It just spits out points. The feed, on the other hand, pays out in something that looks and feels exactly like genuine human contact. An authentic moment of being seen, a real comment from an old friend, a shared laugh. It harvests real relational connection and then rations it out to you on that variable schedule. It gives you just enough to keep you hungry, but never quite enough to actually satisfy the deep, fundamental human need for a genuine encounter. It impersonates true connection, keeping the hunger alive exactly at the threshold where you never even notice that you are actively being starved.
So what actually happens when we step outside these manufactured compulsion loops? Well, there was this fascinating recent poll that highlighted a pretty wild statistic. 77% of people said they would keep doing their current job even if they didn't actually need the paycheck. And this wasn't just CEOs. This spanned creative fields, lawyers, personal trainers, and service industry workers. To me, this proves something truly profound. Deep meaning isn't reserved for some special, elite set of activities. Meaning is found wherever cetana, your full intention and presence, is genuinely given to an activity. Meaning exists in the full presence of the doing itself, not in blindly following an algorithmic autopilot.
Now, hearing all this, it's incredibly tempting to just say, that's it, I'm throwing my phone in the river, and retreat entirely from the digital world. But remember Siddhartha. When he finally left his curated palace, he tried extreme deprivation for 6 years. He joined ascetics and literally starved himself until he almost died, and crucially, it didn't solve his problem at all. It proved that aversion is really just a mirror image of craving. Starving yourself of technology is still organizing your entire life around a compulsive relationship to the machine. Punishment instead of pleasure is still a failure to land in the present moment on its own terms.
And this brings us right to the bleeding edge of technology today and how we evaluate the tools we're building next, specifically artificial intelligence. Moving forward, we absolutely must strictly differentiate between AI as an extraction engine and AI as a tool. Recommendation algorithms and AI companion bots, those are explicitly trained to maximize engagement. They are built from the ground up to counterfeit relationships and capture your volition. But reasoning AI, systems that are used for analysis or collaborative work, acts much more like that knife we talked about earlier. It contributes no moral weight on its own. It simply weights neutrally for the intention of the hand that holds it. We have to start applying the cetana test fresh to every single tool we use, asking ourselves if it serves our intention or if it was built to quietly redirect it.
Ultimately, Siddhartha didn't find his answer by hiding in a palace of indulgence or by starving himself in the woods. He found it in a practice of sustained, ordinary attention. So as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with one final practical thought to carry into your day. The very next time you reach for your phone or open a feed, just pause and ask yourself, is this intention arising from my actual contact with the world, or was it manufactured for me and handed to me as though it were my own? Honestly, asking that question might just be the only gate that opens from the inside.